Test. All right, I'm leaving one of them on right now. I'm just running over all my connections. Any of this one? So when I turned it on, it was fine. Okay. No, I literally turned it off and then I walked over to the mixer. So if it happened as soon as I turned it off, then that was just the dead air. I walked over to the mixer and then I tweaked with a bunch of the connections that I didn't like while I was okay. Yeah.
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing. Testing. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2.
Good evening. I'd like to call our regular school committee meeting to order. Today is February 7, 2023, and we are starting our regular meeting tonight at 7:34. We had an earlier meeting that caused us to start a little bit late today, but we have a long agenda. Just want to go through a number of things. As typical, I want to mention that our meeting is being broadcast live on PAT. The minutes of the meeting tonight are being recorded by Marge Marcarelli. It's great to have Marge with us today. She'll be taking the minutes. And then anybody, as typical, when we get to the public participation segment of the meeting, anybody who would like to join us, not only will we offer it to anybody present, but also anybody who would like to come in through Facebook just by raising your hand, and the superintendent and I will bring you in. We have a full committee here today, and why don't we first start off with a moment of silence, and then we'll follow that up with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. So please join me. Thank you. We do have minutes from our January 24th, 2023 regular school committee meeting. I'd open those up.
Motion to receive and approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. You've heard the motion to approve the minutes of January 24th, 2023 regular school committee meeting. The motion was seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Great, thank you. Next item is approval of bills. We have 2 warrants today. I'll turn it to you, Mr. Olympio.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5271 in the amount of $186,747.98 dated February 7, 2023, subject to audit.
Second.
Great, thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio for approval of warrant 5271. That motion was seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote for approval, please.
Yes.
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 I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5276 in the amount of $1,376,840.83 dated February 7, 2023, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. You've heard the motion for approval of warrant number 5276. Motion was seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Great, thank you, Mr. Olympio. Next item, item 4, continued business. We have one item, Mrs. Dunn, any report to make today on the Welch School MSBA project?
Nothing new to report. We will be having a Welch School Building Committee meeting on Thursday, the 16th at 9:30 a.m. That'll be broadcast courtesy of PATV and available on Zoom for the public if they want to watch that. And other than that, everything's moving right along.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Next is our superintendent's report. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Josh Vidala for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple items on the superintendent's report today. Some very exciting things going on. First up is our seal of biliteracy. So the Department of Education has instituted a seal of biliteracy. Excuse me. And what that is it's a voluntary assessment for any high school student who can demonstrate proficiency in the English language and in another language, one of our world languages. So the students have to meet a criteria. So they have to meet one of the first 2, which is they demonstrate high proficiency in English by earning a score of 472 or higher on the grade 10 ELA MCAS, or a scaled score between 455 and 471 on the grade 10 ELA MCAS, and they fulfill the requirements for educational proficiency by obtaining a 4.2 overall and a 3.9 on the literacy composite of the access test that we give to our ELL students. So as long as they fulfill one of the first two, and then they demonstrate high proficiency in a world language by obtaining a minimum score equivalent to an intermediate high on the assessment that's approved by the Mass Department of Education. So that number 3, that assessment in the foreign language, is what we will be offering this April. And then they have to satisfy all their graduation requirements. So what our goal is to offer the assessment that's described in number 3 in the foreign languages, or in our world languages, in April, and students that successfully pass that will get a special seal that they'll put on their diploma. It's called the Seal of Biliteracy. So Deb Jackson, our Director of English Language Education, English Learner Education and World Languages, will oversee this as a way to acknowledge the students that have acquired the valuable language skills, and that will serve them well in college and in the workforce. So this is a newer initiative through DESE, and we'd like to initiate that this year for our graduating seniors. So anyone that scored a certain score on MCAS for English, demonstrating that proficiency, and then we'll give this test in a foreign language. And it's open to any student that meets these criteria. So we're very excited that our students would be able to get that seal on their diploma, and then moving forward, we would do this annually. So happy to answer any questions, but this is an exciting thing. We have a few students in the virtual school with Dr. Lord that plan on passing this as well, and then a number of students at the high school that would be able to do that as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. Through you to Dr. Vidala. Is the assessment for any student in high school, grade 10 and above, or is it just for the seniors as they approach graduation?
So they can take it at any time, and so we'll be working with them, and it can also be in their native language. So if they speak a language fluently that we don't offer, they can still take that test. So it's a language that they're fluent in, as well as demonstrating proficiency in English. So it's that seal of biliteracy. They're demonstrating that they are literate in two different languages.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Mrs. Dunn?
I'm really glad we're doing this, and I want to thank you for that. I think it's a great opportunity for students to show a real skill and to reward them for that at graduation. So thank you for pursuing that program.
Excellent. And thank you all for supporting it. It's a great program. I know that the languages is something that the committee definitely supports, and we do have a lot of students that are fluent in another language, and we thought this would be great for them. So the next item is from an update from our Peabody Education Foundation mental wellness programs. So we have been very fortunate with the partnership that we have with PEF, and on Friday we just had a couple special presentations from Dr. Adolph Brown. So thanks to the generosity of PEF, the Lionwa Auto Group, North Shore Bank, J.B. Thomas Leahy Foundation, and the Gravock Charitable Foundation, they've all donated considerable amounts of money to this mental wellness initiative. And so on Friday of last week, we had Dr. Brown come in and speak to, he did 2 different sessions for our high school, one for the 9th and 10th graders, and then later for our juniors and seniors. And it was amazing. It was really well received. He did a phenomenal job. He's the speaker that we had for our teachers in August, and it was very well received. He got a standing ovation, and people loved him. And when I was talking to him afterwards, he says, we're better with kids. And so we brought him in to talk to the high school kids, and I'm sure some of you have heard, how it went, but kids really went down afterwards. They opened up to him and his team, and he was taking pictures with them, and it was really a great update. Just a great experience for our students. And then also we have this program through the theater group called Tiger that we're doing in all of our elementary schools, also funded through the grant money that PEF received. And that is really a great program where it's sort of interactive, but it's got a psychology background, so it really talks to kids about their mental health and their wellness, and things that they can do, to persevere and, to work through some of the things that they have. And so we're really trying to destigmatize the idea of reaching out for counseling, and it's okay to talk about mental health, and it's okay to seek assistance. So, we had these 2 great presentations. I also want to thank Dr. Higgins. He's been instrumental in bringing these 2 groups forward for us and for our students. And Dr. Higgins, I'm happy to let you expand on some of these programs as well.
Thank you, Dr. Vidal. No, just to echo, I know we're all very familiar with Peabody Ed Foundation, and they have a great, I know you have a link on here also, but if you go to their website, they have some really detailed information about both groups. I've never seen someone speak to high school students and dozens of kids line up afterwards to just shake the person's hand take a picture with, and I mean, they were like glowing after talking with Dr. Brown. It's really moving, and great feedback. I certainly received from the kids up to high school, so that was wonderful. In regards to Tiger, that is a theater group out of Plymouth State. I've had them a few different times at different schools. Anytime 19, 20-year-old kids perform for kids, they just light up. It's better than any celebrity we could bring. And so the message is great around character education, choose kindness, and it's college kids presenting to them. It's a great program. So all 8 elementary schools will have those performances as well. So the Peabody Foundation, there's a subcommittee, the mental wellness subcommittee, and Dr. Lloyd and myself work with Deb McGregor and Karen McGovern. And so a lot of good work, not only towards the students, and we're also looking for opportunities for staff also. So it's a great focus area there, so thank you. And then I just wanted to continue, I'll do an update on the next slide, just some update on some of the safety things we've talked about. I know we've talked about the ID badges. I want to make sure I thank publicly Steve Magno, Chris Mitchell, Brian Condon. They've done tremendous work. They've gotten IDs for every staff member that we have. We've been collaborating with the police, and so you see the badge there. All the cruisers have that, so they can obviously have emergency access at any time. We're also working with the fire department, the Knox boxes, so they'd have that. So we're always in collaboration with our safety teams, so they can have access to our buildings as they need to. We've been updating all of our bullying in Title IX information, translated into Spanish and Portuguese. Everything is available on the website. And one thing that we're really happy to share is there's a reporting form for parents, any concerns that they may have. We recognize oftentimes a child's at home and it's later in the day, and that's when they're sharing their concern. And it's hard for parents sometimes the next day to make the phone call, track somebody down, all that stuff. And so in a way to make it more accessible to everyone, we created this form that parents can go on at any time, fill out that information. That starts the process. They're going to hear back from the school, next steps, things to happen. And it comes to us at the central office so we can support. Sometimes it could be a transportation issue as well, and so we can start to do some help supporting the school, and then the parents get a quick response to their concern. And so I think this is a great way to just make things easier for parents to share information, and for us at central office certainly to support the work done at the school. And then finally, this year, we just started, last month, we created, so I've talked earlier about each of the schools has a crisis response team. And in fact, just at our last meeting, we saw the perfect example at the high school of, and I have to stress, that was all of their work that they did, but that response to the medical emergency. And so that's a perfect example of that. So all of our schools have those teams. This is the first time we're going to have one at the district level. And it's really designed to support the work of the school teams. And it just kind of creates a different lens of particularly getting outside service providers and things of that nature. So if you think of, we have to move a school. We have to move the Carroll School over here to the Higgins. Well, we really want the school team focusing on the students. We want them almost to turn inward. What do we need to support the students? You know, how do we can get them over there? The district team can then come in, and as we're working alongside them, we can almost handle that. Our school resource officers, police, fire, whatever the situation may be. Transportation will obviously be a big one. And so it's kind of being collaborative in that way. And then other situations that may arise. And so there's a lot of really good, healthy conversations that are taking place that quite honestly are proactive. And that's when they should take place. And so that's some good work there. So every step along the way, SROs, Peabody Police, Peabody Fire, we're always including them. They're the experts. So we're just kind of taking our steps, checking in with them. And so this district team will continue to work with them and then feed information to our schools. And then finally with the schools, we're happy to share, we're doing some exercises. So they're not the big full drills with, whether it be, well, you think of a traditional fire drill with the fire being, it's things they can do right in the classrooms. We asked the staff to do a quiz. A lot of them did that today. Where is the AED in the building? And it's, you know, someone's worked in buildings for a long time. Yeah, when I was here, did that get moved again? And you think of like the Welch with the construction. Where is that now? Because it used to be here. Is there a new one? And it's just those good, healthy conversations to have. You know, what would we do, right? Here's a scenario. Let's play that out with the staff. And so there's those good opportunities to kind of share with one another and get that information and to teach. And so finally, and I apologize, Dr. Vidal, I didn't get to add this to the slide, but when I came up, it reminded me, I hope you all We talk about safety, hand in hand with safety is sense of belonging. And I hope you all had a chance to at least see in the Salem News, there was a great article about Elaine Barry, the art teacher up here. And she did a project with the students, which was 100% her on her own, but it fit perfectly in what we talk about, sense of belonging. And I came out and visited with her and thanked her and some of the kids. I know she has one project out here in the lobby, but it was just a perfect example of what we're trying to do. So there's safety when something may be occurring, but there's also having our students felt sense of community, sense of belonging. And she just did a fantastic job, and I just want to publicly recognize her. So lots of people doing good work in these areas, and I want to publicly thank them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Higgins. And just, one more time, this badge that you see here, there's one in every cruiser. So I met with Chief Griffin, and so this is an example. So you see it at the bottom, it's Peabody Police Department K9-2, so that's Ella's badge. So we have that in Officer Ritchie's cruiser. So he took a photo of it for us. But there's one in every cruiser, so no matter who has it, if there is an emergency and they respond, they can get into all of our buildings. And then we have the fire ones are in the knock boxes as well, so that they can get there. So just great work, from that. But these are all the IDs are numbered and labeled so that we know who accesses our buildings as well. So we do have that, and if something gets lost or broken or something, we can deactivate it right away and then issue another one. So that's a big initiative that we've been doing. So very grateful for all the work that's been done there. And then the final item, and this is one of my favorite pictures of all time. Just a great picture of a great catcher. Getting a student out at home plate. But I wanted to bring up our high school baseball team is making their annual trip, preseason trip to Barnstable on March 25th and 26th. So you have the field trip approval forms in the packet. They're going to Barnstable High School and Plymouth North High School. The coaches and the parents are chaperoning. They will be staying overnight. It's a Saturday-Sunday trip. The vans were donated by Danvers Ford, and the expenses are paid by the boosters and parent contributions. And Coach Betancourt has assured us that, as always, the student handbook will be strictly enforced. And it's a great preseason trip for the kids, and a lot of team building that happens. So I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. And that, I will field any questions, but that concludes the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you, Dr. Vidal, and thank you, Dr. Higgins. Good reports. Are we looking for a motion to approve this request?
Motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent.
Second.
Okay, you've heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Amico for approval of the field trip request for the Peabody Veterans Memorial High School baseball team. A roll call vote, please.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, public participation. Anyone in the audience today that would like to come forward and speak? Microphone is open. Seeing no one, Dr. Vidal, do we have anybody joining us today that would like to speak?
Seeing none.
Okay, we did have one written communication. I think we've attended to that, the field trip request. We'll go to subcommittee reports. I did want to report out that I would like to keep the same subcommittee assignments moving forward for this year. However, I had a good conversation with Mr. Olympio, and I wanted to bring some important subcommittees that touch on some real items. But one that I think could be helpful is a subcommittee for performing arts. We have some incredible music and theater programs. Mr. Simmons, Mr. Jones, just a number of people that give so much, and those students provide so much to us. I think I'd like to create a committee and ask Mr. Swanson to chair that committee and kind of be a liaison between those departments and the work that we do. So I wanted to bring that forward, see if you were comfortable with that, Mr. Swanson, and ask that I guess we would probably need a vote to have that be a subcommittee moving forward, and I'd ask the council to support that. But Mr. Swanson, would you be comfortable doing that?
I'd be honored. I appreciate it, and thank you very much for being thought of. Thank you.
Great.
I'm very honored. Thank you.
Great. And
There's no vote needed.
no vote needed?
No.
Bylaws give you the authority to create ad hoc
Oh,
committees.
my goodness, I love it.
But I would ask respectfully, Mr. Mayor, I was going to call you Your Honor, excuse me.
No, don't call me that.
That's fitting too, that this not be an ad hoc committee, but this be a permanent committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great, thank you all. Okay, let's go through our subcommittee reports then. Education, Mr. Amico?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Finance, Mr. Olympio?
Nothing to report?
School safety?
Yes, I have
Mr.
two.
Olympio?
Yeah, I have two items. Yesterday morning, I met at the Peabody Police Station with Chief Griffin and Lieutenant Bonfanti. We filmed a short public service announcement for the Autism Awareness Program for really drivers and passengers of vehicles in Peabody. And I would encourage really the students and even all drivers and drivers that might have family members with autism or other disabilities as well to go on the Peabody Police website and register your car, your information. I think you do have to upload a picture, but it's all voluntary, and really it's really for the safety of everybody. Again, in this day and age, nothing's routine, and if you get pulled over, routine traffic stop, somebody that is on the spectrum of autism or has another disability, it just gives the police a little bit more information with who they're dealing with. And I think it's just for the safety of everybody. It's just a wonderful program, and once you register, you can go down to the police station and they'll give you these nice seatbelt covers that, again, it's just another thing. If a police officer comes to the car, they kind of see what they might be dealing with, and it really could prevent a lot of misunderstanding or worst scenario, somebody's safety. So I want to thank the Peabody Police and Chief Griffin and Lieutenant Bonfanti that's really been working with me in the last couple of years on this. So I would encourage everybody to go on that website if it applies to them, obviously. It's just a great program. And then the other item was yesterday we met as a safety subcommittee. We spoke about the center school building, and we'll have more to report on that in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Olympio. And to that first topic, thank you to you. I mean, I think that's a wonderful program, and I know, that's been spearheaded by you. So thank you. That's a terrific report. Yeah, more to come on the center. So thank you on that. Okay. Next item is athletics and wellness.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Hartman?
Yeah, we continue to achieve at high levels with the winter sports season. In particular, if anyone gets a chance to catch one of the 8th grade girls Higgins basketball games, they're tearing it up. They have a head coach who is extremely talented and
Thank you.
somewhat intense, but not not necessarily on the basketball court. He's actually quite relaxed with this team. They're winning by a margin of 50-plus points per game. In any event, no, it's been a successful winter sports season. As a matter of fact, many of you know that I was traveling yesterday. We had a meeting. I was able to participate remotely. And when I got to the airport in North Carolina, I ran into a Peabody High student athlete who was down in that area, invited by Elon College to view their facilities, and that student athlete's being recruited. So it was nice to see, the breadth and the width of the athletic department in Peabody, and it's exciting. So anyway, that's what's going on. There's a big boys basketball game tonight in Marblehead, and the girls are playing at home, I think against Marblehead, and they might be over by now. I don't know if we have any results or scores, but we'll get them if we can.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Okay, quality and standards, Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to let everyone know that I'm working with Ms. Peace, the high school librarian, on suggested updates to our library policies to bring them in conformity with the national standards. And when those drafts are fairly well along, then I'm going to have a quality and standards subcommittee meeting for the subcommittee members to review things to that point, and again, meet with Ms. Peace and try to help complete that project. So the meeting will be scheduled shortly.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Parent and student advisory boards, Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you. Trying to reschedule the Parent Advisory Board meeting. We had to cancel it last month, and because February is a bit of a short month to begin with, with vacation and everything, coordinating the speakers that we had for the last one and a date when members can make it is a little bit of a problem. Hopefully, it'll be before the end of this month. But one thing that I was really happy to see tonight was during the presentation about what the Peabody Ed Foundation and Gravoc and the WA Group had presented for the mental health of our students. We did have a speaker who was coming to Parent Advisory Board. Karen McGovern was going to talk with the parents, and I'm hoping she'll still come because she did want to get input from the parents about what they might like. So what we saw this evening was directed at the students, but that whole project is going to be all-encompassing for many, many levels in the district, and it's really very, very kind of them and extremely generous to the work they're doing.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Okay, building and grounds.
Thank you. I think Dr. Higgins talked tonight about the access cards that are now in the hands of all staff members, and all buildings are accessible by those cards or someone in the office buzzing someone in. I believe that the elevator at the Brown is is functional now. It's up and running. So thank those that were able to accomplish that, and sorry to the Brown School community for the time that was not available. We got through the recent cold spell with a couple of issues in some buildings that were all remedied prior to the opening of school on Monday. So I'm happy to report that there was no disruption in education or in working conditions for a couple of burst pipes in a few buildings that we and thanks to the staff and everyone else who was able to keep doors open and heat on so that we minimized the damage that occurred through that storm. We continue to work through a few projects, including some issues at the center and some issues that we've discussed about the Kylie. And I think that's about all for now.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. And if I can add to that report, I did want to state that I made a mistake and prematurely brought the issue of potential demolition of the Kylie School to the City Council. I have since withdrawn that and brought it back to the school committee. Really, I was just anxious because I thought we had an opportunity to potentially save some funding if we were to demo the Kylie, to maybe package it with another building or two that we were looking at as a city to potentially demo, and I thought by packaging it, that might get us a better price. I also thought, and I've learned, certainly being in this position, that putting out bids during the winter months for prospective construction work, you can get better pricing now. So I was thinking, that was my thought behind bringing it forward, but it hadn't been vetted by the full school committee yet. We still needed some additional reports, and we really have to make a decision. I've kind of been leaning that way for a little while now, certainly in terms of prospective use of the Kylie, but I want to make it clear to everybody that the Kylie School is school property. It's a part of our future here for our educational system, for our city, and we as a committee are going to be figuring out the use of that building. We are going to need it. I certainly do not want to make a mistake, which I think has been made in the past, to take a short-term gain and maybe sell property when we think that we're going to need it in the future. I don't want to make a bad short-term decision that affects us long-term. And I think the Kylie School, with some of the growth that we're going to be having in the city in the years ahead, we're going to need the Kylie School in some capacity. Whether we rehab that building or whether we demo that and rebuild, that's a decision that we're going to have to further vet and discuss here in the committee and get some additional reports from Mr. Hafey. My motives were good, but they were just a little bit premature, and we need some additional time to talk. There's some work that we have to do as a committee in addressing, Mr. Olympio mentioned the center school. That's a topic that we need to discuss, and we're working with our union and with our administrative team and all of us to come up with our short-term plans and our long-term plans, which are all very important. But I did want to mention that I was not at the last meeting, and you know, I think that that was my error. So we'll put it back into committee, get some additional work, have some additional work on that, get some additional reports, and talk that through and come up with our plan. So that's what we'll do moving forward. Mr. Hockman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No apology needed for me. I thought that we're moving too slow to begin with. We're 5.5 years past the time that the Kylie was last occupied. It's deteriorating. It needs to be something done to it. We've been sitting on it for 5.5 years. we have a lot of reasons to do something in that property, and I respect you coming before us telling us how you feel you might have rushed it. Please don't do that for my part, because I feel like we're 3 years too late. There's a lot of reasons, including the center school's condition, including approximately 1,000 units that are going to be coming online through 40B development that has been approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals, that we need to get ahead of this. We have class sizes that are small in this city. I think that's something that we all are proud of and all work towards and all want to keep. And in order to do that, we're going to need to do something. So I respect your position on this, Mr. Mayor, and I'm hoping that we, while we're slowing things down slightly, that it's merely just a slight slowdown. And we're going to put some issues with the center school and the safety at the center school in the forefront. But I think that these two issues are linked somehow, and we need to keep moving forward on the Kylie. I don't want to see a situation where we put it out there and there was a little pushback, and that now we're going to get away from the issue. I also took a little umbrage and offense to some of the fear-mongering that took place during the course of the discussion. I didn't appreciate that. I thought that there was no need for that, and that I was somewhat disappointed in some of the people that participated in that. So I'm happy to hear that we're going forward with some issues with the center. I'm happy to hear that we're not pushing the Kylie School off too long, and that we'll be addressing it in committee with additional information, as all members are entitled to, and that we'll move forward with that as well. Thank you.
No, a lot to discuss there, and everybody's going to be taking part in that. I'm actually excited and looking forward to having these discussions about the future and coming up with our plan. I think these are going to be important decisions to make going forward, and they need time to talk these through. Mrs. Dunn, briefly.
You didn't think I was going to be quiet, did you? I want to thank you. I want to thank you for taking charge of this and coming to us and straightening this whole process out, and I want you to know how much I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to those discussions. I'm looking forward to those plans, because I know that it's going to help our district on so many levels, and I really do appreciate what you just said and want you to know that too.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Okay, a couple more items, I think, here. City Council and Legislative Delegation. Mrs. Carpenter, anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. And redistricting, Mr. Hockman will hold that one. Okay.
Oh, I would like to mention, I do think we need to have some reports on redistricting in conjunction with the plans going forward.
I agree with that. Okay. Oh, sorry, Mr. Olympio? Oh, did I skip that? Jeez.
Yeah, that's okay. Special Education Parent
I'm sorry.
Advisory Board. I'm looking to have a meeting Monday, February 27th. I'll officially post that this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. All right, our next scheduled meeting is going to be Tuesday, February 28th. Items for the agenda can be handled in the regular course. I did want to state one thing, and let me pull it up here on my phone. I think many of you saw this, and I think it's important because we've had a number of discussions about this very item. But there was an article in the Salem News last week, headline article, banner article, stating federal lawsuit targets vocational school admissions policies. Civil rights groups have filed a federal lawsuit against Massachusetts over its quote-unquote exclusionary admissions policies at vocational and technical schools, alleging the taxpayer-funded schools are cherry-picking high-performing students while weeding out minorities and low-income applicants. The complaint filed by the Vocational Educational Justice Council on behalf of several prospective vocational students. I just wanted to bring it up. I think it's something that we need to monitor going forward. Certainly, the Essex Tech has provided some wonderful services, but it is a school that I certainly have questioned in terms of admissions policies, and I think this is just something that we're going to have to monitor closely moving forward. A number of our students have benefited from the school, but there are others that I know certainly could. So it's just something I wanted to bring up as something that was in the newspaper that's generating a lot of discussion, and I think going forward is something that, again, we need to keep a close eye on and see how that plays out. Knowing lawsuits, like a number of us, we all do really, they can take a lot of time, and that could wind its way through the court system for months, years, so I don't expect a quick answer on this, but it was filed, It's underway, and again, let's keep a close eye on it. Mrs. Dunn?
Just to let everyone know, at Essex North Shore, they're very, very concerned about the situation. We have an admissions subcommittee that meets pretty much once a month, about the whole issue of admissions, the procedures for it, the policies surrounding it, and the data that's helping to change the way that students are admitted to the vocational school. Luckily, Essex North Shore's policies have been approved by the Department of Ed. They have been rewritten to go along with what the DESE is requiring. There are a couple of vocational schools that have not done that, and that in one piece is part of that lawsuit, but it applies to every school in the state. And it's really something that Essex North Shore is concerned about, working about, and wanting to make very good changes in that regard.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. I did receive some calls from parents and some close friends about this issue, so I know it's newsworthy, it's important, and again, something that as a school committee, and I know Dr. Vidal and his team, we're all monitoring that. Okay. Any other items before we break? I'd have a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Mr. Swanson, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Thank you. Good meeting. I appreciate everybody's hard work.